which is a beautiful one actually. Temperatures have been in the low and mid 80s overnight. We've had some showers go through, real fast movers, but still could put down a decent amount of rain. That's what we saw move, especially right up 95 through Broward earlier, and now southwest Miami-Dade seeing a few of those spotty showers. And here we go along the southwestern coast of the state and seeing the showers coming in, all still feeling the far-reaching effects and sweeps of this hurricane. Here it was just 12 hours ago, right around 1 o'clock in the morning, giving those 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts near Orlando and continuing to move up towards the northeast. Look at the rain, though, all around Big Bend, also pretty heavy there. And now the system is east of Charleston and moving towards the northeast. Heavy rain north and South Carolina, and potentially making landfall later this morning and into the afternoon, maybe somewhere between North and South Carolina. Breezy with a few storms for us today as we will continue to tap up that tropical moisture. Then what we're going to find this evening is staying in the real steamy stuff, still staying pretty breezy, and a quick storm certainly not out of the question. You see the True View shows a few showers off in the distance there. And as we get into your Sunday, certainly some spotty storms will pop up as we stay really warm and keep with this tropical flow. And then into the early part of next week, it's a pretty moist flow here still, so summer storms will be expected. Pretty typical actually scenario for us as we get into tomorrow as well. We check out the Atlantic Basin and we're checking out a few new tropical systems. This one, Tropical Storm Danielle, not too much of a concern of that, should turn up to the north somewhat. And this one, Tropical Depression number 5, is the one we'll actually be paying the most attention to. It's still 700 miles out from the islands, but moving to the west-northwest at 19. That's a pretty good clip with winds at 35. Into the first part of next week, this is where we would expect to see it, somewhere from Hispaniola into the Caribbean, and then late into the week we're looking at from the Florida Straits down through the Caribbean, maybe even eking out into the Gulf of Mexico. So this is one we'll be watching. We would expect some strengthening out of that as it continues moving in that direction. Plenty of time though. Few storms, 91 today, breezy sunshine as we're all feeling pretty grateful. Would that be a word? This morning, and concerned for what's going on around the state. Choppy out on the bays. A few showers tonight, 79, breezy and real humid, that is for sure. And steamy sunshine fills most of your Sunday with a few storms certainly possible on the breezes. And again, they'd be brief, but put down a decent amount of rain. See you later.
Thank you, Pamela. You know, all morning long we've been hearing impressions from different people, reporters, as well as folks who lived through this hurricane in terms of what they're seeing, what they felt, what they went through. Somebody who not only went through Hurricane Andrew, but actually did a wonderful job in covering that and became a hero of sorts because of Hurricane Andrew and is now with us here at CBS 4 is Brian Norcross. And we have Brian on the phone with your personal impressions, Brian, in terms of what you're seeing this morning.
Well, you look at the aerials, and of course, anyone that lived through Hurricane Andrew can't help but have deja vu. The homes ripped apart, and you know, every one of those houses, every one of those buildings that belonged to somebody, and somebody's life is involved in that. And you know, we went through it person by person. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of folks in South Dade went through this, and now it's going to be not on the same scale over there because it's not so big a place, but not that that really makes any difference because it's still individuals. It looks, you could roll back that Hurricane Andrew tape, and this is what it was right here. This is it. Now the you know, Hurricane Andrew, I'm just comparing the two storms. There were some similarities in that both of them, the core of both of them was very small. So you know, Punta Gorda apparently was the homestead of this one. But Fort Myers, which is not too terribly far away, very much like, you know, Miami or someplace in North Miami, didn't get anywhere near as much. It was the same kind of a very, very tight core, and you just had to sort of be unlucky to be in the way of it. The good news here on our coast is we have better built buildings, and I think it's going to come out that we have a better emergency management system, even though back in Hurricane Andrew days, our emergency management system was just a shell of what we have today here. Clearly, there was some problem over there that they were unable to react properly. And I guess it also speaks volumes that the Sheriff's Department came apart, and that was their emergency management center. that couldn't withstand the hurricane. So anyway, there's obviously going to be a lot of looking at what went wrong in terms of getting people out of dangerous places. But you look at the scenes that we're seeing from the helicopter, it reminds me exactly of what we saw 12 years ago.
Brian, let's talk a little bit more about what possibly could have gone wrong in terms of people getting out in time, because both Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda were under hurricane warning right from 5:00 p.m. on Thursday. Now, the hurricane hit at 3:30 on Friday, so they had almost 24 hours notice. What do you think went wrong there in terms of that distance of time between folks knowing that there's a hurricane warning and getting out in time?
Well, it's not hard to imagine what went wrong with people in their houses because people do try and they want to stay. Everybody wants to stay. But this mobile home park business, because even if they thought, okay, maybe it's going to be a hurricane, but it's only going to be a Category 1 hurricane, it's just so well known that every mobile home is evacuated for every hurricane. We don't even like people staying in mobile homes for tropical storms. So the fact that somehow scores of people, maybe hundreds of people in that area stayed in their mobile homes, just as a testament, or unless the authorities tried to get them out and they said, no, I don't care what you say, I'm not going. You know, the fact is we don't drag people out of their homes that are determined to stay. But if there was no overt action by government, and it's all speculation at this point, and you hate to indict anybody, you know, without really knowing how hard they tried. But just from what we're hearing from the reporters that were over there and listening to the media and watching the authorities work, it seems like the authorities were caught by surprise that they were going to have a hurricane. And, you know, we saw it turn at 11 o'clock. Even if you say, okay, they really thought it was going to Tampa, we saw it turn at 11 o'clock. And give them an hour to say, uh-oh, it really has turned. They had 3 hours to move people from really dangerous places to places that were relatively safe, concrete block buildings. And although obviously over there they have some serious problem with their building code because a lot of concrete block buildings fell down as well. But in any case, get them out of those mobile homes. So it's going to be a very important discussion on what the mechanism was for notifying people, for talking to people, for coercing people. You know, did somebody from emergency management in Charlotte County get on the television and radio in every station and insist that they could get on and say, here is the message, get out now, get out now, in the most affirmative way is what you have to do, and you have to send police to these places with bullhorns and make sure people understand the level of seriousness. We talked to some folks yesterday that said, these hurricanes come along, people hype these hurricanes. Well, it's not so much that people hype them, it's that, for instance, in Tampa, I'm sure there are a lot of people in Tampa saying, oh, they hyped this thing and we went through all this aggravation. But the fact is that, we don't live in 2104, we live in 2004, and maybe 100 years from now we'll be able to split the hairs there and know, okay, it's not going to Tampa, it's going to Port Charlotte. But in this day and age, in modern science, as good as it is, it's not good enough to distinguish between those two places as far as a future track 24 hours in advance, and that's why the hurricane warning is put up that far in advance. So, there's a lot of education, but there seems to me that the emergency management folks, if they didn't understand it was coming and had the potential to come and be very strong in Charlotte County and in Collier County and Lee County, they should have, and they should have gotten the word out. But we'll have to assess what the message was and what overt actions were taken once the sort of the pieces are picked up a little bit, and you take care of the individuals involved here and be sure as many people can be taken care of, are taken care of, and then you can look back and really figure out what went wrong.
All righty, we appreciate your time, Brian. CBS 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Norcross. Thanks, Brian.
See you later in the day.
All righty.
And our team coverage continues now with Shamari Stone, who's here in Miami, where relief efforts have already begun for those who have been affected in the southwest region of the state of Florida. And you know what, Danielle, to see total strangers right after Hurricane Andrew just jump into action, I can't imagine that South Floridians here wouldn't just be so readily available and willing to immediately help these folks in Punta Gorda and Fort Myers and all that area. Shamari?
Well, that's right. City of Miami police officers right now are gearing up, getting ready to drive straight to Southwest Florida. the hardest hit areas to assist the victims of Hurricane Charley. If you look right now, Mr. Deputy Chief Frank Fernandez from the City of Miami Police Office is with me right now. What do you all plan to focus on?
Well, we've been activated by the state of Florida EOC and FDLE. They've asked us to send up there a technical support team. These officers are equipped with heavy equipment. They've been trained to operate chainsaws and wet saws and things such as that. We're going to go up there primarily for security purposes, but if they need us to do some extrication or help out officers that may have some issues at home, to help them out with their families, we'll be there available to help them out in whichever capacity they deem necessary.
I think it's safe to say you reap what you sow, because the officers from Lee County and Charley County during 1992 Hurricane Andrew came on down to help South Florida victims, and now you all are doing the same thing.
You know, absolutely. You know, when we had Hurricane Andrew down here, they all came down and gave us a hand. So yesterday, even before the storm hit, we made a call up there. Chief Timothy called all the chiefs and the sheriffs up there just to make sure that we were available to respond and assist them in whatever capacity they needed.
Deputy, thank you very much for joining us.
You're
I
welcome.
certainly appreciate it. Now, the City of Miami police officers will be joining the Broward and Miami-Dade fire rescue units that already left last night. Thursday night, Miami-Dade fire rescue crews left with lots of equipment, a couple fire engines. The convoy consists of Miami-Dade, Hialeah, Miami Beach, and City of Miami fire rescue units. They hit the road to Charlotte County, where they say the most help is needed.
The state agency, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and as well as the State Department of Emergency Management is telling us that the damage is severe. They're using words severe, possibly catastrophic.
Broward County officials also sent some much-needed help. 36 members of the Sheriff's Field Force unit left to assist the victims of Hurricane Charley any way they can.
It's another mutual aid trip. Well, we've done it before. We'll do it again. We've got the equipment, the manpower to help out others, so that's what we do. We do what we do best.
And that's exactly, they do what they do best. They're very well trained for natural disasters, and they plan to help out any way they can. Now, we have a number for you right now, the Neighbors for Neighbors number. They're supposed to put it up, but I'm just going to give it to you anyway. The number is 305-597-4404. If you want to help out the victims of Hurricane Charley with financial needs or any type of services, anything you can provide, please call that number on your screen. That's 305-597-4404. Back out here live. Now, many of the Miami police officers who are going up to Southwest Florida returned from Iraq, so they're very well trained with disastrous situations. Live here in Miami, I'm Shamari Stone, CBS 4 News this morning.
Just a wonderful thing that those officers are doing. And we want to let you know very quickly that if you have friends and relatives up in that area, you know that phone service is very scattered at best. There is no electricity. So if by chance you're able to somehow get in touch or with somebody up there, we want to give you the number for the Federal Disaster Declaration to register for disaster assistance if someone that you know or love has been affected by this. That number is 1-800-621-FEMA, 1-800-621-3362.
Time now is 9:24. Thank you for joining the special edition of CBS 4 News. We'll be right back.
Hard work, dedication, and commitment to excellence is what sets winners apart from the rest. I'm Larry Coker of the Miami Hurricanes for Hearst Awning Company, Florida's oldest and largest hurricane shutter manufacturer. Hearst produces all of its hurricane products right here in its state-of-the-art 60,000 square foot factory. And they've revolutionized the hurricane shutter industry with their patented clear hurricane shutters. Remember Hearst, a name you can trust.